Here is a rapid fire of everything that's happened on day 6 of the Russia-Ukraine war. The International Criminal Court is set to open an investigation of war crimes and crimes against humanity after Russian forces bombed the city of Kharkiv. But even if they are found guilty by the ICC, the question of who will enforce punishment brings us right back to our current dilemma of how to help Ukraine without triggering World War III. Visa and MasterCard have now blocked Russian banks from using their network. According to US intelligence, Putin is getting frustrated by his military's slow progress in Ukraine, and he's lashing out at his subordinates in his inner circle in bursts of anger. And you might not clock it at first, but this piece of news is one of the most terrifying out of all of these. This morning in the UN Human Rights Council, more than 140 diplomats refused to listen to Russian Foreign Minister attempt to try and justify military aggression, and they all walked out. And this isn't news, but today I learned that on December the 5th, 1994, Ukraine signed an agreement to hand over all nuclear weapons to Russia in exchange for a guarantee to never be threatened or invaded. And if you want to read that agreement, just Google the Budapest Memorandum of Security Assurances. Here is a rapid fire of everything that happened on day 5 of the Russia-Ukraine war. The peace talks between Russia and Ukraine that began last night ended in a no deal, and the fighting continues. Satellite images have just spotted a Russian convoy headed to Kiev that stretches over 64 kilometers or 40 miles long. Vladimir Putin's black belt has now been revoked by an international taekwondo organization. Also happening last night, Ukraine have now officially applied to become part of the European Union, and Zelensky has asked for the application to be fast-tracked. Also, the now incredibly well-known Snake Island soldiers that told the Russian warship to go and themselves are actually alive and well, according to the Ukrainian Navy. This is Putin meeting with top Russian officials on what has to be the longest table on the planet. A huge day for all my cryptocurrency lovers, as the Ukrainian government have now raised over $10 million in cryptocurrency donations. Elon Musk has just shipped over a truckload of Starlink satellite terminals to the Ukraine, giving the entire country Starlink internet access. And on top of it all, Switzerland, a country that is famous for its neutrality, has broken its traditional stance in favor over adopting sanctions over Russia. Here's how likely it would be for World War III to begin due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, the most important place to start is with the USA and NATO, because both Joe Biden and NATO representatives have already confirmed publicly they will not go to war over Ukraine. But unfortunately, it doesn't just stop there, because if it did, NATO wouldn't have sent thousands of troops to Eastern Europe, almost as if they are preparing for something just in case. And that something was mentioned in Biden's speech 2 days ago.
Why he was going into Ukraine. He has much larger ambitions in Ukraine. He wants to, in fact, reestablish the former Soviet Union. That's what this is about.
Now, the likelihood of Putin invading any of these blue countries, which are NATO members, after Ukraine would be extremely low, because if he did, Russia would then have to answer to the combined military forces of 30 countries which make up NATO, including the likes of US, UK, France, and Germany. And at that point, it would be absolute assured mutual destruction, because even though Russia doesn't seem to have many allies in the world right now, they top this year's chart of most nuclear warheads held by a country at a terrifying 6,257. Unlikely as that all may be, people are drawing comparisons from Putin's invasion of Ukraine to when Hitler invaded Poland and the rest of the world said it wasn't their war to fight. And as we know, that ended with the horrors of World War II. In any case, even though the odds of another world war happening are extremely low, essentially right now, and it blows my mind to even say this, but the entire world's fate essentially rests on the decisions of one man. Here is why no one is going to save Ukraine. Now, don't get me wrong, over the past few weeks, a whole host of countries have been helping Ukraine with things such as weapons, medical equipment, and refugee agreements, but no country will help Ukraine fight Russia because Ukraine is not part of NATO. Now, NATO is a military alliance formed in 1949 by 12 countries, including US, Canada, the UK, and France, in which members agree to come to one another's aid in the event of an armed attack against any of the membering countries. In fact, NATO represents representatives met yesterday and confirmed that NATO will not engage in warfare against Russia unless a member nation is attacked. Now, this map shows the European countries which are part of NATO, which are shown in blue. Now, if Russia attempts to enter any of those blue countries, that's when World War III begins, because Joe Biden, along with other country leaders, have vowed to defend them. And in a speech given only a matter of hours ago, Joe Biden said that Putin's ambitions are a lot bigger than just Ukraine. He wants to re-establish the former Soviet Union. And I'm not trying to create fear, but thousands of troops have already been deployed to Poland in case anything escalates. And what makes things so much worse is that Ukraine had previously expressed desire to join NATO, but they remained shut out in large part due to Russia's fierce opposition to more eastward NATO expansion. And sadly, that is why no one is coming to save Ukraine.